What are the biggest manifesting mistakes that you are doing and you don't realize but are secretly stopping you? And how do you release your deepest energy blocks so that you can actually manifest from flow, alignment, and purpose? We are going to be getting into all of that. Let's dive in.
So, what's the biggest manifestation mistake that people are making right now, but they don't realize that they're doing it?
Most people, they just try to visualize harder or affirm harder or try to believe more with their thoughts and changing their thoughts, or they try to just work harder and do all of the things in order to get ahead. But they're missing another component that actually makes all of those things actually align and actually work. It's a more efficient way to manifest, which is actually changing the energy behind the thoughts, changing the energy behind the actions itself, changing basically your energetic identity at a really fundamentally deep level, where let's say the same amount of output that you're doing, it's going to equal a very different result. What ends up happening is people think that there's something wrong with them. Like, so for me, like they think there's something wrong with them because they're doing all the affirmations, they're doing the healing, they're doing all the actions and hustling and trying so incredibly hard. And then at the end of the day, they think, oh my God, I'm just shit. Like, I can't do this. Like, there's something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with you. It's just that there are unconscious energies running the show.
Okay, so when we're talking about the manifestation and, the same amount of output, the same amount of work, delivering a different outcome in your reality, what is it that takes your level of manifestation to the next level where that same amount of work will produce better outcomes and you feel connected to what you're producing? What is that?
Yes, that is the key, by the way, is that you feel connected. So one of the misconceptions that people also have about working really hard, they see all these successful people saying, you just need to work really hard. Is that to some degree true? That is to some degree true. But what allows them and motivates them and gives them the energy to work that hard, right? Because these highly successful people, like they work probably 100 times, quote, harder, or they're more productive in what they do than most people. That's not because they're special. It's because, first of all, they have a greater energetic capacity. Their frequency is higher when it comes to, let's say, abundance or something like that. So let me just actually go back to your question. Sorry, I get a little bit off track. But okay, so let's say in your energetic field, in your energetic blueprint, you equate working with a certain amount of struggle. Now, this has nothing to do with just your mind. Okay, because your mind, your thoughts all day are going, no, I'd love to not work and make a whole bunch of money. Okay, so that's this disconnect between your thoughts and the energy patterns. But let's say 2 generations ago or 3 generations ago, right, in order for your family to survive in your lineage, they had to work 10 times harder in order to just survive. And that became something that they were just used to doing. And then you unconsciously inherited those energies, inherited those deeper, deeper beliefs that go beyond just your mind. And now you have inherited a paradigm or an energy freak equation. I call it even an energy equation. You can think of it like that, where X amount of work, right, produces this amount of money. So I will have to struggle and work this hard in order to produce this. Now, here's what's really, really cool. As you elevate your frequency, as you awaken to higher levels, you have the ability to actually release those energies that you inherited from like 3 generations ago. You have the ability to actually release yourself from it, free yourself from those paradigms. And then all of a sudden, you go, whoa, wait a second, hold on. Why am I working this hard? Like, this is how it looks in the physical reality when you release pattern. You're like, wait, why am I doing this for that? Like, this just doesn't even make any sense. And all of a sudden, you start to look at opportunities and go, oh, wait, there's a better way that I can do this. And then you start to actually go, yeah, that is a good way. There is a better way, more efficient way that I can create abundance. You start to move toward that because now you're no longer running that energy equation that held you down. And then all of a sudden, you are in the opportunity of making more money with less work because you released that pattern. Does that make sense?
Okay, interesting. That was actually a very complete answer. And sum it up. So I think kind of like what you said, um, the shorthand is so if you first you elevate your frequency by letting go of generational and inherited energy equations, like that could be one thing, right? I know you mentioned curses and different things in your work also, but first you do that, and then that allows you to shift your paradigm in which you're existing. So you shift timelines
Yes, yes.
where the amount of work you do, first of all, you feel connected to it. You feel like there's a point to everything you're doing, which automatically lends itself to greater efficiency. And you still have to work hard, but the output is you get more for what you put
Y-
out. Is
Not
that
only do you get more for what you put out, it's easier to do the work. So for instance, and I know people are like, but I don't want to work hard. Like, but trust me, guys, like if you're in the flow of something, if you're in, think about when you're like doing something you love, if you're in the flow of the thing, it almost doesn't matter what you're doing. And you're just like, oh, I'm just flowing, right? All of a sudden you become a channel for source to work through you, to give you the energy and the inspired ideas, the motivation, all the stuff that like juice, right? To go, oh, yes, this is such a good idea. It's like when creative people have this amazing idea, they'll stay up 24 hours just to like, see it come to fruition and they're not tired because actually what happens is some higher source, some higher energy can actually move through you and you're no longer just like the skin and bones, right? Of like, eh. So for me, like 3 years ago, it would be impossible to do what I'm now capable of doing in the same amount of time just because I have released enough garbage for the flow of the universe to actually move through me more efficiently and give me more energy. But yeah, you summed it up like perfectly. So it's like sister, like sister. You're you're an extremely fast learner. It's really
oh,
cool.
energetically or just on the physical level?
Both,
Are they the same? Okay.
both. You are because you're very curious.
Hmm.
So like you're naturally extreme. I mean, like guys, if you actually see our hard conversations, it's actually what started this. If you actually see our conversations, I mean, it's like question after question, and they're really, really, really good questions. But she's just naturally super curious. And honestly, if you want to become a master of anything, you got to be extremely curious about the thing.
So I have to ask, this is kind of a follow-up though to so when we're looking at manifestation, like sure, but within bands of like certain paradigms, there are certain people who seem to have better luck. Like beyond, they can both be equally competent, equally charismatic, equally hardworking, but one person will enjoy better outcomes consistently. Is that luck? And is luck something that we can is that a frequency we can align to, or what is that?
Yes, it's such a good question. I was just talking about this in an activation in quantum circle earlier about luck, like what is luck, and you were asking me actually about luck the other day, and I found it really fascinating because a lot of times I can't just tap into something. Someone actually needs to ask me about it in order for me to then channel the answer. So first of all, those two, that situation you're talking about with the two different people, similar work ethic, all that stuff, think about it very practically. Okay, so like you have a choice between two people who are exactly the same. But when you're in the presence of one person, you feel something activating in you. Whether you're conscious of it or not, you're just like, well, I kind of like her vibe. Like she makes me feel comfortable. Like she makes me want to be a better person for some reason. I don't know. Like there's something there that like makes me just a little bit more activated than when I'm speaking to this person who has all the same qualifications and it's just still not, it's like, not super inspired. Okay. What is that X factor? What is that in corporate? They call it the executive presence. Um, it's all the same thing. Okay. So what that actually is your frequency. It's your frequency beyond all of the superficial like physical stuff, right? Like so that's why when people start doing this work and Genesee, I almost called you Paget. It's so weird and meta. But Genesee, like this as you start doing this work, people just respond to you differently without you literally saying anything. It's because they're getting something from interacting with you because now they're going, oh shit. Genesee, like obviously not a conscious level, like Genesee is awakening. Genesee is awakening to her higher power. She's remembering who the fuck she is. I love that frequency, right? I want to be on that path too. So I just want to interact with her more. Okay. So if you think about those two different people, which one do you think is going to get naturally just more opportunities, is going to attract better things to them naturally because most things move through people, right? It's going to be the person who is on the quote path is what I call it, on their
Right.
journey of awakening to their highest selves.
Well, so that kind of makes it sound like elevating in frequency is the same thing as luck. but are they actually synonymous or is there a difference?
So so this is kind of interesting. There is a difference. Okay, so I love this question because like if you pull you ask so many good questions, Janice. Guys, if you want her to come back and ask more questions, because she's like the question queen, then comment below. Okay. But so if you take a step back, like all the way back, it's all about frequency. It's all about how elevated are you in frequency. Okay. Now let's say there are two people who are equal in frequency. Okay. So now we're talking about two people who are equal in frequency. Hmm, who's going to be a little luckier, right? This is where mindset does come in.
Okay.
This is where visualization does come in. This is where work ethic does come in. This is where all of those other things that people usually talk about, they do come in. Okay. If two people have the same level of consciousness or frequency, or they're elevated at the same level, this is where all those other things come in. That's why when I work with my clients and I'm like, okay, you've released a lot of your garbage, right? You're elevating. Like now you got to do some of the other stuff, right? But most people, they actually do all the other stuff, but they don't do the frequency part, and that's where they actually feel capped, right? But you do need, quote, both in a sense. Now, when it comes to luck, this was interesting because when you asked me about luck the other day, and then I was tapping into it,
So sorry, quick question. When you
yeah.
say you tap into things, like so you seem to be able to answer these questions like it just rolls off your tongue, like you know it, like you know it, like you know it. Is that from a place of like cerebral understanding, or what do you mean when you say like you tap into luck or you tap into what's behind? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is interesting because as I'm explaining, this is why it's really interesting because like someone will ask me questions, right? So they'll ask me questions on coaching goals or they'll ask me questions generally. And if I was just answering it with my mind, I would like I don't have a very good memory, to be quite honest, and people who know me very well, they know I don't have a very good memory. But if I'm just answering with my thoughts, it's actually very hard for me to answer because I don't have a great memory. And so I'm like, okay, how do I best like talk about this and this angle and right, and that's hard to me. That's mental, like hard, okay. But when you ask me the question, I literally see visuals of the knowledge. So that to me is like it's just tapping into the source of knowledge that we all have access to, right? That's all it is. So if you listen to something that I say and you go, oh, yeah, like I don't fully understand what she's saying, but I feel the truth in what she's saying on some level, it's because I'm just opening the channel for you to tap into the same knowledge base. So yes, when I'm answering your questions, the reason why it comes out is because it's like a mix, but it's more of like me just articulating what I am seeing or perceiving at a higher level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, so you were saying about tapping into what is luck?
Yeah. So luck. So when you ask me about luck, right? So then I have to tap into your ability to create luck. And so when I tapped into you, so I'm pretty sure it does apply to most people, but when I tapped into you, it's about transmutation. So for instance, like something bad could happen. Okay, some challenge could arise, and it's like, oh, and most people will go, oh my God, this is so bad and horrible, and what woe is me? I don't know what to do about it. There's something, it's like a mechanism that I see like in your headspace where you would literally be able to like turn that thing like into a positive. So you would immediately be able to, let's say, see the silver lining in it at a really deep level and be like, how do I use this as leverage to actually do it better, to pivot higher, to go higher with it? Right. So it's like, so it's almost like if you think about it, it's like you pushing down on the challenge to some degree or on the negative thing to make it work in your favor. And then it does work in your favor and it makes you more powerful. And then this is where you can become luckier and luckier and luckier. But that's interesting because it's specifically, I think it's for most people, right? That like applies, but specifically for you, that's how you would be lucky. Now, here's the thing though. For you, though, see, this is where the patterns come in because the thing that would stop you from being able to do that is this is low self-worth. We all have low self-worth, okay? But it's like this deeper energy of the low self-worth is like, well, do I really Am I really worthy of continuing to go higher and then higher and then higher and then higher, higher, higher,
You know, I
right? And so
feel,
you would actually sabotage yourself. You would actually for you, you would slow yourself down. Like, how do I break this? How do I slow this down? Because this is a little too much, because it feels like a little too powerful. Does that make sense to you?
I don't know. It makes sense on like the cerebral level. But you know what I have noticed is some of my really good friends are Christian actually, and they're religious, and I feel like this is not in it's actually not in conflict with like any kind of religion. I
Yes.
actually feel like my friends who are Christian, they tap into luck better than my friends are like just that just happens to be what more of my friends are versus anything else, any other religion. Otherwise, they're just like atheist.
Yes.
They seem to be
Yes.
able to tap into luck more. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't say it's luck, it's faith, right? And is it because it aligns with the tenets kind of Christianity,
Yes. Yes.
like seeing the silver light? It's not really a silver lining, but trust, faith.
It was really interesting because my entire life, you know this, like for a while, I consider myself an atheist for some reason, and then agnostic. I'm spiritual, but I don't really believe in anything and all of that. And as I've gone into this work and I've seen how powerful faith is,
Yeah.
like, so I see it more as faith and trust in yourself, faith and trust in the creational power within you.
Okay.
But you can externalize that, right? And you can go faith and trust in the universe, faith and trust in God.
Hmm.
And whatever is the most powerful for you, it actually, I hate saying it doesn't really matter, but it doesn't from an energetic perspective, it doesn't really matter because the mechanism kind of holds true the same way anyway. You have a faith, you have a deeper trust, right? And so it kind of combats the whole thing where we tend to self-sabotage, we tend to go into negative spirals, we tend to like be like, well, I don't really deserve it and everything like that. I mean, there's a whole other thing with religion where it creates a lot of guilt, which stops people like crazy and all that. But yes, that faith, that trust and that faith part is so incredibly important to being able to manifest because it's really trust and faith in yourself that you can do it. It's really all it is, right?
And
And that's what keeps you going.
right. And whether that's powered by, you said you can externalize it, faith and trust in like God that he's here with you or whatever, or internalized in yourself, the effect is kind of similar. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Now, here's the thing, right? Let's take your friends who are Christian.
Hmm.
Let's put a whole bunch of energy patterns all up in them. Okay? Like even more levels of low self, or even more levels of sacrifice, all these things, right? That stuff of faith will only get them so far,
Interesting.
right? So it is incredibly important. Actually, the higher you go, the more important your mindset actually is. But if you are not there yet, it just seems like, and I'm speaking from personal experience because I was there. I was doing all the mindset stuff. It simply was just not working for me, right? It doesn't matter if you're not energetically aligned, it doesn't matter how many mindset things you do, how many tricks you do, it's not gonna last. That
Right.
ability to embody manifestations or embody your life that you dream of, it will not feel fulfilling and therefore it will not actually really last.
Got it. Okay, so in this case, you're kind of aligning religion or Christianity with mindset. It like has the ability to change your luck within that paradigm that you happen to be in, that kind of energetic frequency paradigm that you happen to be in. But to kind of move to the next timeline or paradigm for you that is at a higher level of manifestation power, it requires releasing blocks, generational things, what.
Versus trauma. Yeah. I know. People call, yeah.
So so let's move into like a practical side. So my husband yesterday was like, I don't want to call him. He's like, Genesee, I am doing things. When I feel triggered, um, I take a step back, and I've actually heard some spiritual or like coaches say the same thing. I take a step back and I look at it from a higher level, and I ask myself, why does this trigger me? And I said to him, that's not what Paget says. You're supposed to not feed it, but like feel it in the full intensity. ugh, this like burns in my chest, this burns at the top of my head, and just burn it down. And he was like, I'm supposed to feel it more? And I said, I think so. And so I texted you. So, when you tap into that, what are you supposed to do practically to release the distortions that keep us limited?
Yeah, really good question. And I love that you brought up your husband into this because that is what most people do. And that's why they are not actually. So let's put it this way, most people bypass their way through life, period. Right. So let's say it's actually just easier for you to take a step back, not feel the trigger, not feel the discomfort, not feel the fear, not feel the whatever. Okay. Take a step back and just go from a higher perspective. This really doesn't matter. Okay. So most people do. And then the same thing keeps happening to them, and then they keep on going. This is, by the way, also what I see sometimes in um some people who follow religion, is that they'll keep on bypassing and bypassing and bypassing and bypassing while the same bad thing happens to them over and over and over and over again. And they think, oh, well, that's just life and that's just the way reality works. Some people, they just always cheat you. Some people, they always like trick you, they always abuse you, they always cheat on you. And then that is their lived reality, and they don't realize. And then they make statements like, well, life is just really hard for everybody, right? Or they make statements like, well, all men are cheaters, right? They make these generalized statements because it makes them feel better, okay, about the fact that they don't realize how to change their quote luck or change these patterns that keep coming up. My point is, you can change them. My point is, you can release them. My point is, that is not the way reality actually has to go for you. And I know because, like, Gen Z, we talk about my patterns, right? That have come up. You're like, Paget, like, this keeps happening. Like, why? I just couldn't see, like, why you kept doing that. Like, why you kept getting cheated by these people over and over. We're talking about the other day how why I kept getting taken advantage of by people over and over and over and over.
The work, and you would, yeah, like you would do the work and you would let them take the credit, an equal share of credit, like that.
So that was the first part of the Q&A with my sister. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I think it was a great conversation. I think it's a great conversation. We are going to continue it in part 2. Also, we want to answer your questions from the audience. So let me know what questions you have. If you like this interview, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. And I will see you soon.